Hello again, everybody. You might be wondering which mission I'm going to be tackling next out of the 6 available. Well, it's garbage day here, so I'm going to be tackling this mission, which is complete trash. Pretty much the only bad mission in the game, I would say. There are a few which I don't enjoy playing very much, but this is the only one which I would say is badly designed. Relatedly, it's easier to max rank on hard mode. So, here we have Kanbei and his supposedly more intelligent daughter. He's always very worried about her. With good reason, because if you think about what we saw in Advance Wars 1, her entire career up until this point seems to have been an unbroken string of failures, culminating in one that nearly got her killed. She was only saved by the intervention of other countries, all totally avoidable. I like the face they have for him there. In general, I quite enjoy the art in this game. I'd say it's my favorite out of the 3 original games. Days of Ruin, of course, had its own style, which was, I think, more suitable for its less cartoonish setting. But I definitely think Advance Wars 2 looks the best out of Advance Wars 1, 2, and Dual Strike in terms of how the COs appear. We can add another failure to Sonja's growing list, because apparently she, the intelligence officer, knew nothing about this gigantic fortress black hole built in the middle of their country somehow. Kanbei is always saying very silly things. I put up with it because he's a very good CO. Sonya is a terrible CO, so I am much less patient with her. I would argue that in single player, she is the worst CO in the game. On par with Flak, maybe worse than him at some things. In multiplayer, in Fog of War, she has her uses, certainly. It would be so much better to have Kanbei in charge for this mission. Even though it is Fog of War, he would be vastly superior. But I mean, that's not really a fair comparison. Kanbei is better than almost every other CO almost all the time. Anyway, this mission is meant to redeem Sonya after the previous game, I think, and establish that now she knows what she's doing. I'm not really sold on this mission name. Maybe I'm missing something, but I don't really feel like we stop a show here any more than we do in any other previous mission. They've already built their fortress and they seem to just kind of be idling around. The fortress, by the way, does nothing whatsoever. It's just scenery and takes up space. The mini cannons are all that matter. Yeah, the terrain is a huge problem here, because it's full of woods near him and wide open near us. I mean, yes, obviously they're behind it. Who else could it be? Some black hole nationalism from Adder there for some reason. And that's the reason that I'm doing this mission now. It's a lab mission. I want those Neotanks. So we start off with no units. Adder has a giant army of 26, and we have absolutely no idea what it consists of and where he's positioned. So there's no way to begin this mission that isn't pure luck. With some experimentation, I think that the best beginning is to get greedy, build an APC, and grab that nearby northern factory. Turns out there's just enough time to accomplish that. Both bases are neutral, and Adder never really tries to take the southern one. Grabbing this one early saves me some time. So listen carefully. I heard at least one plane move. You can kind of count the number of helicopters that you hear moving too. You can recognize some of the sounds like treaded vehicles versus tired vehicles, but you really can't distinguish beyond that. So know there's a lot of air units coming our way, but we really don't know whether they're battlecopters or T-copters, and we have no idea what else is out there and when they'll be arriving. Again, purely luck-based guess and check beginning. But that is only one of the many ways they impose guess and check throughout this mission. So let's talk about COs. You might have noticed that my infantry can see farther than on that Andy Fog of War mission. Instead of having a vision range of 2, my infantry have a vision range of 3. That's because I'm playing as Sonya. All her units have +1 vision. And you know, in multiplayer that's pretty good. But the AI has infinity vision. They cheat, and this nowhere near evens the playing field. Likewise, hiding HP from foes means nothing to the AI. They cheat, they know what HP you're at. And true, her counterattacks are a little bit stronger than normal, but 3 things make that less helpful than you would think. Number 1, the bonus is not big enough to make up for the disadvantage of being hit by the enemy. Number 2, it is entirely irrelevant when the enemy attacks with units whom you can barely hurt anyway. And number 3, Sonya has worse luck than Flak. This is completely secret, the game tells you nothing about it anywhere, but her luck is, bar none, the worst in the game. Her CO power is very situational, occasionally helpful, not usually that good, not for its price. Her superpower is pretty good because it's cheap. It's not actually that strong, but it is cheap. It says counterattack stronger, actually what it does is you actually hit before the enemy if they attack you. The animations don't reflect that, and they don't explain it very well, but that's the way it actually works. And you know, that's pretty good. For 5 stars, not bad at all. All her units supposedly average, but in reality they're all secretly very bad. So, over here we have Adder. A man with a slightly better tan than myself. It's probably envy that makes me say that he's a really bad CO too. His description is false. You might have noticed a pattern there that almost all the CO descriptions are badly misleading or outright wrong. He does not charge up power any faster than any CO in the game. They are all the same. But notice that he only requires 2 stars for his CO power. That means he'll get it faster than most COs. Of course, there are some COs who have better powers that charge up just as fast. He's all about speed, really. He gets his CO power pretty fast, and then it gives him +1 movement. His superpower is called Sidewinder in the American version, which makes much more sense, since that's a means by which snakes move really fast. Anyway, all he gets is just extra movement. That can easily give you first strikes in enemy units, or let you get around to their vulnerable artillery and rockets, and a human being might need to back up before you use it so they don't get hit like that. So that can gain you some ground. But it's not a game winner like many CO powers, and it's pretty predictable and easy to play around. Now I want one more infantry to capture a city and provide some vision later on, but no more than that. Adder is about to come in here like a stampede, and he will slaughter your infantry and your technique score will be ruined with them. He comes in with so many units that there's just no way to block them off and protect the infantry. And you might notice, by the way, that it is almost all open plains near us. We have no hiding places, effectively. They have a ton of woods. We get empty plains. So there's no way to get tactical and use the fog of war to your advantage and trick the AI. No, you just have to use brute force, really. You can try to use these 2 force, and I will sometimes do that, but the enemy will spot you immediately and kill you pretty fast. I have tried, by the way, seeing if I can go for this western base instead of the northern one. Not really worth it. They have that bomber and helicopters coming too fast. Plus, it's not as useful for the rest of the mission. Well, I'll move toward capturing that city, and I'll put the APC in the woods where it can help the infantry make a quick getaway, depending on how the enemy is moving. I'm going to build myself a medium tank. It's a slow unit, I want to get it built and get it moving fast. In my opinion, pretty much no unit is worth building here, except for medium tanks and anti-airs. They have so many helicopters and tanks that they will just obliterate your regular tanks. Your medium tanks can stand up to those things. But they also have a bomber, and a lot of battlecopters, so you must have plenty of anti-air to survive. At least 2. And those, of course, are quite vulnerable to their tank swarm. Okay, that base will give me a little bit of money, and a good place to deploy from in future turns. I'll advance that MD tank. I want to keep it away from the south where their bomber is. So besides that bomber, they usually have at least 1 battlecopter coming along the southern front, but it can vary. I'm going to try to use my infantry as bait to lure them into at least 2 anti-airs. Okay, we're about to see the first signs of his army up on the northern flank. And I want to emphasize again that there's no way to know when you begin the mission that this is when he'll be arriving. He could have arrived turns ago, or turns after this. This is just the beginning of his force, but it's already pretty formidable. So if you were playing this mission for the first time and had built conventional units like recons and tanks, you'd probably realize that you're in over your head and get wiped out at this point and have to restart. You might persist long enough to learn a little bit more about his army, but you'll be in a terrible position, and you certainly won't get a good ranking. So he put his artillery where it guards that base. He often does that, unfortunately. I have tried building an MD tank there anyway, which takes little enough damage that it can be worth it, but I think this is a better build order overall. If you move into this northern forest, you usually get discovered and killed immediately. If you move into the eastern one, it's about a coin toss. So I'll just cross my fingers and hope he doesn't move his units in a way that discovers that infantry too early. And I'll put my MD tank over here in the woods where it has some terrain cover, and see what targets I have available next turn. I've tried a few approaches to see if you can save this southern infantry, and the answer is no, not consistently. If I move him back, then there's a coin toss chance of him surviving a bomber attack. Again, I really dislike having a secret luck mechanic in a strategy game, but never mind that. If I leave him on the port, he ends up being in battlecopter range, so he will definitely get killed. This turn I'm going to save my money to get another MD tank. I'll need at least 2 of those things. They'll be useful later too, unlike regular tanks. Okay, cross your fingers for this infantry. You didn't cross them hard enough, darn it. Their deaths are on your hands. This is one reason, by the way, I like to have that 3rd infantry who captured the city. Depending on their formation, he can be crucial for putting their bomber or battlecopters into vision range of your anti-airs. Okay, the battlecopter attacks me on this force, but that's not so bad because this is an MD tank. If I was a regular tank, I'd be ruined by this point. You can hear that he's still moving in vastly more forces out there. Oh, he moved his artillery into the spot he sometimes does and discovered my infantry. That's bad for me. What I like is when he moves it next to the factory. So, there is absolutely no way to save this infantry at this point. No possible means of escape, so the only thing I can do with him is just take a shot at the artillery. Now that's a pretty good use of infantry most of the time, but I am playing as Sonya, so I might barely scratch him. But you know, that looks a little bit above average actually, I think. Sonya deals between -9% and +9% damage. At this point, I will just build an MD tank. It'll shrug off that artillery shot, get repaired, and then be ready to roll and just start wrecking his units up here in the north. And now for a crucial engagement. Sonya's luck can really cost you on this one and leave you with a 4 HP enemy bomber. But that was about average, so I'm getting off to a pretty good start so far. My last time playing through this, I had absolutely dreadful luck across the board. Now what I really want is to keep both of his tanks off of my anti-airs. Obviously there's no way to actually block them on this wide open terrain. My MD tank will help by putting some damage onto the one that's closer to my anti-airs. Although of course I know he's going to have his power or superpowers shortly, so he can drive a long way. And I'll drive up and wreck this battlecopter from the port. That will help me against tanks on future turns if need be. Thankfully, anti-airs overkill battlecopters so Sancha can't screw this one up. So, I can't block the tanks, but what I can do is try to create distractions for them. One thing I've noticed is that the AI loves to attack infantry. So if I build some more infantry, I might be able to bait them to attacking those instead of attacking the anti-airs, leaving the anti-airs free rein to take out more battlecopters, and finish the bomber, of course. Some of the infantry will die, but that is a sacrifice I am willing to make. I'll also run my other infantry southward. I want to make sure that his tanks are the ones that get distracted and killing the infantry, not recons or things like that, which are not actually important. So, Adder has his power, but I don't think he'll use it. Generally speaking, I think that if an AI is past about 1/2 star over its CO power minimum, it'll tend to save for its super. The more it is over the minimum to use its CO power, the more likely it is to save for the super, of course. Oh, that's annoying. The bomber moved to attack the infantry from a position which is out of anti-air range. But that was probably a necessary evil in order to take out everything else to keep the anti-airs alive. But it looks like the plan is working. The AI is prioritizing killing the infantry over anything else going on right now, which is bad for my technique score, but I can make up for it, and it's not as bad for my score as it would be if I was taking more important casualties on things like the anti-airs. You know, for a lot of COs, I've been doing some decent counter damage here too. But because I'm playing as Sonya, I barely scratch them. Sometimes it's possible for her to literally do no damage, just a way that she is uniquely bad among all COs, except for Flak. I don't know why the big dumb brute and the supposedly brainy person have the exact same ability to be terrible at all fights, with him actually being a little tiny bit better. So they're trying to capture my base. I certainly can't have that. Now I know that they have a tank out here that just finished killing my infantry. I just don't have vision of it currently. That's not the highest priority though. I really care a lot more about things like the bomber, the battlecopters, and the artillery. One tank I can mop up later on, so I'll just shoot that artillery. Thanks to the infantry before, I was able to finish it off. But with bad luck on either roll, it would have lived. That wouldn't have made a big difference though. It would have retreated to a nearby easily controlled city to try to repair. Now I'm thinking that the best target for my MD tank is probably that tank that killed my infantry. Let's see, the artillery was there. I ran my infantry east of it, the tank finished me from the south, so yes. Now my Sonya APCs see 2 squares, so if I stand it here, I am at risk of getting killed if something else is lurking out there in the fog, but I can at least drive my MD tank up and shred their tank, and nothing else useful was in range that I know of. Unfortunately I got chipped down myself to an odd number, so it's not efficient to repair. I'll build an anti-air up here, the hard counter to mechs, and then I want to think about ways to keep this APC alive, because it could be useful and I don't want to spend 5,000 to replace it if I don't have to. Adder has his superpower now, by the way, so he's guaranteed to use it, and I just need to remember that he has 2 spaces more movement than whatever it displays. So, down goes the battlecopter. The anti-airs are still of course good against his bomber, his many recons, and his mechs. So my plan now is to just stand a lot of guys around the APC, so that they can't easily swarm it and kill it. Ideally I make it hard for them to kill infantry too, but they're too fragile and the enemy has too many guys to be blocked out entirely. I think that'll be my approach this time. I could drive up here and shoot this tank, but I'd barely scratch him with average luck, and then I wouldn't get repaired fully, which will take out my ability to instant kill infantry, so I think I'll sit tight instead. Okay, let's see what he's got with his superpower. Most of his dangerous units are more or less under control from what I can see, but he could still have anything out there in the fog. That's another reason why fog of war levels in general, but this one in particular, are quite bad. If you think about it, the maximum possible vision range for most COs is 5 squares, which means you can't see a rocket unless you're in range of it, even if it's out in the open rather than in a wood or something like that. The effective range of a tank is 7 squares, meaning that Sonya, with her power on, can't even see it before being in range of it. And that's assuming Adder is not using his power or something. He can certainly use that more often than you can use yours. So the upshot is that there is no possible safe way to advance most of the time. If there's an enemy ambush, you must just blunder into it, unless you happen to know from having played the map before where it is, and what it is, and how many it is. This mission is blind luck, literally blind luck, until you learn where things are by experience, and then it's still somewhat luck-based, but less so. Mind you, if you just want to complete it, and you don't care about your ranking, it's not that hard. I mean, you will probably beat it on like your first or second try. But to get a good ranking, only luck and guess and check gameplay can save you. Well, my APC survived, and a 1 HP APC is still fully functional for its main purpose. I think that's a T-copter rather than B-copter that I hear moving around out there. Not that I heard a difference, I just know roughly what he has. Well, I think my next priority has to be to get that bomber back in vision range and then destroy it. I'll try moving my infantry that way first, just to see if it's close by. There it is. It might just crash and burn on its own, but he does have an APC out there somewhere. He's trying to get to that, and he probably calculated that he can make it. The AI is decent about refueling like that. Killing it instead of letting it crash and burn does fuel up his power gauge a little bit, but that's not a big deal. He'll get his power again anyway, no matter what I do. Now, one of the many things that make anti-air quite good units is that they do very solid damage to recons. People think of them as being quite specialized units because of the name, but in fact they're very good against every ground unit except for tanks. So I think you could make a case that they're the most versatile combat unit in the game. Bombers, of all things, being their main rival, I would say. Now, in my observation, enemy units at 3 HP tend to stick around. People at 2 or less are the ones that are likely to flee and try to repair. So I expect that recon will stick around. I don't think he'll join it either. I think they tend to join only at 2 HP or less too. Well, my plan to save the APC is very simple. I'll just put it in the woods. Up here I'm going to want a recon eventually. I can see that they're capturing that port. Depending on how they move, you can sometimes stop that, but this time I really couldn't. That's one thing I would have liked to keep that infantry that was up north alive for. Anyway, they'll build a lander out of that thing. Which is useless, except it reveals the wood next to the port. And that force is very important. I need to build a hidey unit in there to be efficient. So I've effectively lost several turns here, because I need to now deal with the lander before I can really advance properly. And it's pretty hard going to take out a lander on a port. It heals up so fast and doesn't take that much damage from any kind of unit, really. Especially as Sonya. Now, I'm thinking about what I want to do with my infantry. I really want to try to save them to boost up my technique score. I think if I put him up onto that mountain, and then join my full HP one onto him, that will make him tough enough to survive their onslaught. I'm tempted to build a tank to clear things out faster. But on the other hand, I could really use a rocket sooner to take out that lander up north. If I save my money, I can do that. Also note that I've barely scratched his giant army. He still has about 21 units out there. Okay, so he captures that port, and then he'll step off of it and build himself a lander. It really does hurt me that I couldn't slow down that capture. If he moves his artillery in a way that does not reveal my infantry, then I would have been able to do so. But you know, there are a lot of people who post strategies for this game that depend upon the enemy AI moving in particularly advantageous ways, or them getting hugely valuable luck results at crucial times. That's not really my goal with this Let's Play. I don't really want to show you one best case strategy that only works if the enemy cooperates and so does luck. My goal is to show the best general purpose strategy to approach each chapter and get a max ranking. Something that will work without either luck of the AI or luck of good damage rolls. Well, luckily for me, I think he revealed that APC too late to actually finish it off. Now, there are many times it can be tempting to use your CO power in this mission, but I would say you really shouldn't. There's one particular moment when it's absolutely crucial. Otherwise, I'd say it's mostly irrelevant, except for doing your initial guess runs where you find out where the enemy units are. Other than that, it's really not very helpful. Well, I keep thinning out his guys, one by one. Now, I'd love to take out his mechs and so forth with my anti-air, but I must avoid having anti-airs in range of surviving mechs, and he might get a CO power. Now, on most COs, I'd have about a coin flip odds of instant killing this mech and then not needing to finish it off with anybody else. But I'm Sonya, so I'm almost certain to fail to do so, and I must bring somebody else in to mop up. How close is he to his power? Not very close. And nothing I'll be fighting this from will add a lot to his power gauge. That means I can safely build a rocket on that base. Safely barring him having another recon out there, which is certainly possible. I'll go up and start shooting at him and see if I reveal another recon or other threat. So I need to figure out what to attack with what to most efficiently use my attack power to take out as many of his guys as possible while keeping my anti-air from being attacked by his mech. Down goes a recon. I think I'm going to be forced to use my MD tank to finish off his 1 HP mech, which is really wasteful but better than taking more damage on my anti-air. My operations aren't really being slowed down by needing to mop up these guys faster, it's really more about clearing up that lander before I can advance properly. So wasting the MD tank's potential for one turn isn't that bad. Let me just check his CO power bar again, because it really would not do to have his mech get a bonus movement and walk up and shoot my newly built rocket. But you know, I think I've talked myself into letting my anti-air get shot, and just driving the MD tank up to help finish off the lander. I can get more money, I can build another anti-air, I can't get back the time spent shooting at that lander. It's also about time I start building more infantry now that the coast is mostly clear. They'll also help continue to distract the enemy a little bit. And putting them on mountains will give me good vision later on. Oh, what do you know? He had another recon out there. That's the way it goes. Nothing you can really do to prevent it. If you sit tight, you will fail to get a good speed score. The speed limit is incredibly tight on this mission. 23 turns, and besides taking out all 8 minicannons, I also need to capture that city. I might add there's no indication that it's that city out of all the cities on the map, but I happen to know which one it is. Another charming element of guess and check. Really not a ton of fun just figuring that out, walking infantry around every city on the map, capturing them one by one until you happen to find the one that has the map in it the first time. Well, we'll take down that mech at least. Now, looking at the map, the juiciest target for the MD tank is the APC. However, it's not really a priority to kill that thing, because it's not really trying to make a getaway right now. So I think I might put the southern MD tank onto a city to get it healed up for later, rather than attacking the APC immediately. I also don't want to injure the APC enough that it does try to run away. I want to just flat out kill it on my turn. You see, the APC might not seem very useful, but there are several units later on in the mission which, if they don't get refueled, will just crash and burn without being a threat to me. If they do get refueled, then it's the stupidest gotcha moment of all. Adder has, inexplicably, a bomber just sitting in the middle of nowhere, near the top left of the map somewhere, that'll just zoom out and ruin your day. I wasted a bit of fuel there, by the way. If you cancel a move in Fog of War, it actually consumes fuel. If you don't know that little secret, it can exhaust your fuel really fast. There's a good reason for that though, actually, because those moves are effectively free scouting otherwise. If I moved like this and then cancel the move, I've effectively verified that there is nothing in that forest just by being able to get there and then cancel it. So I think it's fair that they charge you for the fuel for that. So, we shoot that guy down, meaning that barring any further nasty surprises, the rocket will get healed up all the way next turn. That cost me a lot of money, but I think even knowing now that there was a recon out there, I still made the right choice building this thing now. I think I will heal this APC up. A little bit anyway. It only cost me about 1,000 to do that for one turn, and I wouldn't want it getting killed later on with there's infantry inside it or something like that. Okay, he's got his power and not much build up toward his superpower, so I think he's going to use it. Hopefully that's just a waste, because I can't see anything else that's in range to attack me. I knew there was an infantry out there. I didn't know they would do that much damage to a rocket on a base when it's at 6 HP. That would cost me another turn to get it to full health. But I am going to be shooting this lander for a long time regardless, I guess. I can feel the ticking clock. But, as I said, I'm not trying to show things just going perfectly. I'm trying to show how you would win this when things don't go perfectly. On any other CO, this would be a guaranteed kill, but again, Sonya, you can't trust anything. We did it! The enemy HP number you see on the map can be quite misleading, by the way. Okay, drive up and shoot that thing. It's not much damage, but it's enough that the rocket should be able to finish it off. And then finally, the important thing will be achieved, which is that wood next to the port will be safe to put a Persian into. Now, it's possible he has another mech on the loose. I better make sure he's not actually capturing this southern factory. And I rethought my positioning slightly there, remembering that he has a hidden anti-air unit off in the fog there to the west. From here on out, he has a lot of lurking units that won't move until you move into their range. Okay, so I'm going to kind of half surround this person so he can't escape. But it's not worth taking my valuable MD tank and anti-air unit off of repairs to finish that APC off. They should just finish their repairs. That'll save me more time in the long run when they can do full damage at the front lines against more important targets like the mini cannons later on. If he tries to make a getaway with that APC, I can definitely catch him from here. I want another rocket soon. I need lots of them, really. So I'll save my money for that. A lot of money is currently going to repairs, but that's worth it. These MD tanks and anti-airs will continue to be crucial in the coming turns. Okay, he's just blocking off one of my bases, which is fine, really. The important thing is that he's accounted for. I can kill him at leisure. Okay, let's sink that lander at long last. We did less than expected damage, but almost certainly the MD tank will succeed in killing it now. It would really be terrible if it failed at this juncture. Okay, at long last it is dead. So, now we stand on the port to block it, and that reveals what I knew all along. There's a rocket over there. Which is why this is important. You need to have either this forest, or one other one to the west. Those are the only safe places to attack the rocket from. They both require a painfully long approach with their own rockets to get into position, because they move so slowly over plains and woods. Any other approach you get obliterated by his hidden bomber, all his mini-cannons, and all the other nasty surprises waiting up there. We've moved into the second, quite different feeling stage of the mission from here. His initial attack force is gone. Now he just kind of plays passively with all of these just hidden trap units. He cannot win, but he can stall me long enough that I don't get a perfect score. Now I know that out there somewhere, I'm not sure exactly where, he has an anti-air lurking, just waiting to slaughter an infantry or damage one of my crucial anti-airs that I'll need later on to take out his hidden multiple extra air force that he has out there for no reason. So I want to advance cautiously until I can bring that in vision range. I'm doing pretty well so far toward getting a good technique score. 4 units lost means I need to have at least 20 guys built, and that's really not that hard to achieve. Now what he would love, and what I cannot allow, would be for me to put a rocket in range of his hidden anti-air out there. So, let me advance this guy. He'll be in range to get into the woods soon. This MD tank, I need to get it healed up. I could put it onto the base, but I want to keep that available to produce things. I think I'll drive it all the way home onto a city or something like that. That feels painfully slow, but the MD tanks are not the limiting factor toward my speed right now. There's the anti-air. Okay, now we know its range. Now it's accounted for. Except just bear in mind whenever you're fighting against Adder that he might suddenly pop his power. Check his gauge in the CO menu and bear that possibility in mind. Anyway, I still can't advance. There are more nasty surprises waiting that I happen to know about. One big threat we can see are these mini cannons. As the name suggests, they're like miniature versions of the black cannon. They do 3 damage compared to the black cannon's 5 with a much smaller range. But there's a lot of them. Their range is enough that it's hard to approach them and take them out, and they're as sturdy as black cannons. So they can really reduce your speed to a crawl, especially with his rockets that are positioned so it's hard to approach. So my plan is going to be to lure out that anti-air and then blow it up with my medium tank. And in the meantime, my terribly slow rockets will just creep forward. I do need to keep plenty of anti-air units around, because he has, I think, 5 more battlecopters and a bomber. At least 5 battlecopters. It's the absolute silliest thing. It defies reason in character for him to just have these battlecopters just sitting there staring into space while the battle is going on. He'll even let them sit in place and run out of fuel, and crash and burn. All just done just to set up a nasty gotcha moment to force the player to restart after like 20 turns. Such bad design. Well, I'm mostly going to save my money, I think. I need more rockets and more MV tanks. Only those units can really beat down the mini cannons efficiently. Okay, I baited him out successfully. That's great. The amount of damage that took can be healed evenly in 2 turns, so that's also good. His APC is trying to make his getaway. I'm going to capture this base, which is good to deploy rockets close to the southern front. You really want to be pushing around both the north and the south flanks of his base at once. Again, as I mentioned, the number you see on the map can be quite misleading. That guy was at basically 1 HP, so it's a very easy kill, even for Sonya infantry. That's really a problem, to be honest. They should just display the exact number of HP people have out of 100. Okay, I'll drive back for those repairs, which I was talking about. Okay, that nuisance has been dealt with. But I know that he has a rocket there, he has an MD tank out there somewhere, and an artillery out there somewhere too. And then a swarm of battlecopters, all positioned where they can support each other pretty well. Even if I know where it is, which I don't, you must also keep in mind that he has that power he can surprise you with to attack from greater than expected range. Anyway, I'm slowly moving in my forces. As with his other rocket, there really isn't a safe way to deal with it because of the mini cannons, except for sneaking your own rocket into the woods and then slowly blasting away. So, I'm going to build myself a rocket and a recon. I do the rocket up north because then on a future turn I can use my southern base to build a rocket down there too, and that'll be much closer than it would have been if brought from the base. You can try just bum rushing him with multiple tanks and getting them slaughtered, and that can work. But it's no good for taking out the mini cannons, so it can slow you down overall, depending. Notice that there really isn't much of a blind spot around this rocket. I could potentially have brought up an artillery where my anti-air is and fired from there if I had something else scouting for it. But an artillery doesn't really have the reach to hit many mini cannons after that, so I think I'm making the better choice by building rockets and slowly bringing them in range. Rockets can shoot right across the fortress, which really saves you a lot of time later, since it's, 4 squares across and I have a 5 square range. I'm looking for good places to keep moving my guys in, not have them bunched up and totally wasting their turns if I don't have to. This mountain's a safe spot, but that doesn't really reveal much of anything. What if I stand here? I'm trying to expand my vision ever outward, without being exposed to an ambush. Mini cannons, by the way, function exactly like black cannons in that they can't kill units, and they always target the most expensive thing in range. I think I'm going to want another medium tank. Those are also good for taking out mini cannons in 2 shots. Okay, at long last I'm in position. I can take the important shot. If I'm unlucky because I'm Sonya, I'll take 3 turns, otherwise it'll take 2. And I was unlucky. Hooray, Sonya. Well, maybe I'll get really lucky in the next shot and make up for it. Luck-based gameplay. Fantastic stuff. Secret luck-based gameplay, I might add. Multiple layers of secrecy. I think driving along this road will actually get the recon to where I need it faster, so I'll be doing that even though it's meant for the southern front. Okay, he's got his CO power, he doesn't really have much beyond the minimum, so he'll probably use that. Although I don't think it'll bring anything else in range of me. We'll see. As I hoped, pretty much a waste of his power, although it will actually make his rocket tougher to kill. As I mentioned, by the way, he does have that secret bomber just waiting somewhere, I don't know exactly where, over here. Basically impossible to find because he'll always see you coming before you can see him. Yeah, the bomber's effective range is basically 8 squares. More if he's using his CO power. Well, here's the blind spot which I can advance into. I didn't want to risk running my medium tank further ahead and maybe aggroing their tank. I could advance infantry in there, but that's not really important right now, and I need to keep these infantry alive for later. Oh geez, I'm revealed now. I made a terrible mistake stepping off of that port, because you could build a new lander and now that reveals the woods, now I'm no longer safe. Potentially catastrophic because of my bad luck roll from before. If it wasn't for that, it wouldn't have mattered at all. Well, I made a mistake, I'll pay the price. But in that case, if I'm guaranteed to get shot by the rocket no matter what, I might as well just advance full speed. The rockets can't shoot 2 targets at once. I'm not going to bother retaking the port. The damage is done, it doesn't matter anymore. I'm looking around now trying to see if I can join any units to get a little bit of money back to speed up building something from that northern base. Alright, I'll advance this guy along, I'll put the rocket in that position, so now he's in range to fire on the southern rocket. The MD tank really can't get much closer. I'm pretty much just stuck here until I can take out that rocket safely. In general, I'm getting held up a lot, although the northern front is the real problem with that rocket surviving. And the lander getting built in the first place. But this will just show the robustness of my strategy here. Lots of things have gone wrong, but even so, my strategy is going to prevail and give me 300 points here, I think. I've got an idea. The AI loves attacking infantry. It saved my valuable units before. Maybe, just maybe, if I put an infantry in range of the rocket, it'll shoot it instead of its fellow rocket. I'm going to try it, I have nothing to lose, really. If that worked, come to think of it, it would actually indicate a much faster way to do this mission, because you could just use infantry as bait. I'm going to try it. I'll learn something about the AI at the very least, and if it does work, I'll have shown a much better way to tackle the mission. Well, I guess I'm just going to need to save my money. Nothing to join to get any back. Okay, we'll see whom he shoots. Mini-cannons go first, the infantry gets shot by the mini-cannon. Okay, that rocket is damaged forever, because there's no way I can run it back to base and heal it up. It's completely not worth it. Now, a mistake I made led to this, and when you make mistakes, you should have consequences from them. But also, luck was a key factor there. My mistake wouldn't have mattered without some pretty bad luck, which is only really possible as Sonya. Down it goes. Okay, I can now advance. Except of course for the mini-cannons and the lurking bomber somewhere out there. I just want you to imagine, being in this position, knowing that the speed limit for this map is 23 turns, and thinking, well, I'm roughly on track, and advancing and then having a bomber come out of nowhere and blow you up and set you back to square one. What you're seeing here is me knowing where almost everything on the map is, and even with the bomber I know roughly where it is. But if you're a new player to this, there is no way to know about that. You just find out one nasty surprise at a time, and if you're trying to go for a good ranking, you can't do it on your first try. You know what I can do actually? If I finish that guy off, then they can't see anything in that wood, which will keep me safe from the mini-cannon. Like all other things, the AI cheats to see infinitely far with their black cannons and mini-cannons, but they can't see into woods, unless they're right next to them, and then they play by the normal rules. Also, their mini-cannons can only shoot at the beginning of their turn. They can't fire later if something else comes into view. My goal now, by the way, is to find and lure out their MD tank and then swarm it with a superior number of MD tanks. And I'll build more anti-airs because I know, as I mentioned, that they have a swarm of battlecopters. Not one, but 2 extra secret air forces in different groups waiting. It's a lot nicer not having that rocket here. There's a much bigger safe area to move into. I need a swarm of infantry down in the south, by the way. I cannot afford to have my capture interrupted on their city that has the lab, and being able to just kind of do joint captures is one of the best ways to secure it. Luckily, he'll never move that lander and build, say, a battleship or something like that. The AI is really dumb about landers, and will just block off their own ports with them for some reason. Anyway, no sense in me killing it, he'll just rebuild it, and it'll just give him more CO power gauge. Okay, as I hoped, I was in range, but I have superior numbers of MD tanks, so I'll be able to take his out and advance. This is basically how I hoped it would go. And I hope you've noticed, by the way, how little Sonya's counterattack bonus actually matters most of the time. As you saw there, by the way, most seals will not use their power for unlocks in the middle of their turn. There are a couple of exceptions, like people who have healing powers, for example. Unfortunately, I got reduced in HP there. That makes me less good against mini-cannons. Well, I need to find where their artillery and their battlecopters are. So I'll drive in my recon, although it won't really be enough. Well, still nothing revealed as yet. Nothing in range of that rocket, unfortunately. Well, there's really nothing for it but to keep crowding in, and I guess I'll get myself another rocket up here, too. So I have 2 anti-airs on hand. Is that enough? Maybe. The other one is still too far away if battlecopters came swarming out of nowhere right now. Yeah, first blood on the mini-cannons. Well, there's not much gain to this, but it might potentially lure a battlecopter over to me if they happen to be just out of vision range or something. And of course, if one infantry's in mini-cannon range, they might as well all go into mini-cannon range. It can only shoot one. I only really need one to be healthy for the capture, but it's good to have backups. Up here he's revealed me with that T-copter. I need to take the thing out. Otherwise, his mini-cannons can fire at the start of his turn. We don't want that, so out goes his T-copter. There's only one safe spot from which a rocket can shoot the mini-cannon safely from the front, so until I get a rocket in position there, I'm kind of just stuck. Rockets are too slow to get around an attack from a safer side. I could divert troops from the bottom front to have them help clear up the top mini-cannon. That might work, potentially. Now I'm looking forward to seeing... Oh, that's interesting. I've been wondering which infantry it would shoot, and whether it would go for the one who was capturing. The answer is no. So I don't know how it prioritizes among same-price targets, but not very intelligently. Anyway, guess he had nothing in range of his units. Well, I am running out of time. Time is the most important score here. I'm going to just charge in. I have enough anti-air that I know I can swarm his battlecopters when they come out at me. There's his artillery. I need to kill that to prevent it from crippling my MD tank. Battlecopters will come swarming out and they might focus down and kill it, but even if that happens, it's really not a big loss to lose a 5 HP medium tank at this stage. And once their battlecopters are down, I know that they are out of things on this front. Oh, it survived. That's annoying. It's going to try to run off and heal, but the big problem is I might try to heal in the city that I need to be capturing. I'm going to have to put an anti-air in potential harm's way of his bomber just to finish that thing off. I need to get to that city, and need to take care of the mini-cannon which is currently watching it. Hopefully his bomber is running low on fuel at this point. It is really late in the game. I might also just be safe from it. I have no idea what its range really is. I think I'm going to just keep pushing ahead here and try to get to the more difficult back mini-cannons. The front ones will often take care of themselves. It's getting really close. I must spend 2 turns capturing that lab city, and I'm not in range of it now. Various setbacks have put me behind schedule. I can make it, but I need to play quite well. Well, I better get the infantry out there fast. Chipping down this mini-cannon with this damaged rocket is really painful. Another bit of fault that all came from that one initial mistake. Maybe I can pull the bomber over that side instead. It wouldn't be good there either, but it would be a little bit less important, maybe. Although, turn 19, that means that he has spent 19 times 5 fuel. So 95 out of 99, so he has 4 left, so I think he'll actually crash and burn at the start of this turn. Didn't even bother shooting there. Maybe I should have, but anti-airs are terrible against mini-cannons. So are tanks. You really need to have medium tanks, artillery, or rockets. Which again is one of the reasons that Max is so appealing for these kinds of missions, because he can just instant kill them with Neotanks. Incredibly useful. Okay, he still doesn't have a superpower, so he still won't use anything. I should talk about how you charge those things up in detail at some point. You know, it's really getting to be a big problem that those battlecopters have not attacked. I tried to lure them out, but I had no idea what their exact position was, and now they're looking over that city that I need to be able to capture. I'm not sure how his bomber hasn't crashed. It's been 20 turns now, right? Wait, no, this is turn 20. This turn it should crash. One of the nastiest things that can happen, by the way, is if you let his APC live, he will at some point run the bomber to it, and then the bomber will suddenly be on the loose, unexpectedly, instead of being sitting back in its expected general location. That can ruin your day even if you know that the bomber exists. I actually saw a guy the other day playing this on hard mode, which is significantly easier than normal mode to get a good ranking on, actually. But his whole run was just ruined by that bomber suddenly coming out when he thought it would be stationary because it wanted to get refueled, and then suddenly all his guys were in range of it. He was baffled as to why it did that, but I knew it was because it wanted to get fuel. If you kill the APC, it won't have that option. Now, it'll often take multiple guys to capture this all-important city, because they have a rocket hidden in that forest. Another really nasty surprise, and there's not much of a good way to get there. And so this is the crucial moment that I have saved my superpower for this whole time. This is stupid, but time is out. I'm going to charge these guys in and see if I can finish that off with small arms fire. I'll take a shot in the rocket, I don't care, I just need to push on and take out the other mini-cannon. I'm trying to salvage a near disaster at this point. Next time I would do things differently, I think. I would not try to even go for that port force, I'd go for the force near the mountains and shell the rocket from there instead. Normally the port force is a better approach, but it's apparently more situational, depends on whether the enemy gets their lander out. Anyway, in the next couple of turns, all 8 mini cannons have to die and I have to capture that city. Okay, his rocket fires on me, I'm going to lose that recon. If the next battlecopter goes for my infantry, I'm going to be in deep trouble. Okay, it did, but you know what? It's not as bad as I was thinking. There is still just enough time. This will not be one of my best runs of this mission, but it's going to be good enough to get a perfect score, I think, if I manage everything just right. I'm down to the point, though, where there's absolutely no margin for error on that capture. This turn is make or break. I've got to locate and attack that rocket and begin my capture, and take out a lot of the mini cannons, or at least critically damage them. So this will reveal the woods, and it'll reveal the rocket. At least once I put a guy close by, it will. Useless injured infantry and APC. I choose you. And again, luckily I knew exactly what wood the rocket was in. If you're a first timer, or just don't know the map by heart pretty much, there's about 7 possibilities. Guess wrong or don't have your superpower ready, and you're going to be stuck here for a long time trying and failing to capture. Assuming, that is, that you knew which city needed to be captured in the first place. There's that bomber, and there's yet another battlecopter. No pattern to it, no rhyme or reason to it, no way to know it's coming until you just get in range and then get blown up. I'm debating here whether I should drive up and attack that most distant battlecopter, or attack the one nearby here. Either way, I need to keep them from attacking my infantry. There also is always the possibility of there being some other nasty surprise that even I don't know about out there somewhere. I don't have a perfect knowledge of this map after all. Okay, another one bites the dust. Need to make some decisions about which mini cannons to kill next. I think I chose wrong there, actually. I could have used my MD tanks for that. I was thinking that they could charge through and go for the cannon, but that's not true because my infantry is blocking them off. Well, I don't think there's any way that he has enough guys on hand to counterattack and kill 2 infantry there. I've got to start working on those mini cannons. This can't quite kill it, but I'm going to just take the shot to the face and finish it off on my next turn. Chip this down, chip it down, and then the coup de... Oh my gosh. I had this clever but dumb strategy coming up where I just finish the thing off with a 1 HP infantry, but apparently it reduces to 0 damage rather than to 1%. I thought that would have been cool. I was planning on it, and I was mistaken. So I was forced to waste a rocket's turn, but I'll keep charging everybody else further into range. Adder still has a lot of units out there somehow, which is rather worrisome. Still room for a nasty surprise of some sort, although I know that one of them is a rocket on his HQ, so that's not much of a problem. Now, how many guys have I lost? Okay, I'm doing pretty well on technique, actually. My caution and good play up until now is one reason that I've been taking so long. I'll just drive this guy over here and get more guys in range to take out those mini cannons. Capturing this thing compulsively, not that it matters. Okay, Adder, what have you got? Bam! Down goes this stupid bomber. I hate that thing so much. Very satisfying to watch it just crash and burn without firing a single shot or moving a single square because of his stupid gotcha tactics with it. Okay, so the only way I can lose is if he can damage both of my infantry that are ready to capture. One of them damaged. Does he have another battlecopter or some other surprise? If so, it's game over after all this time. No, he doesn't. Alright, let's get capturing. Luckily I know which city it is. I saw another person's run spoiled because I didn't know which one to go for. Okay, so I need to do whatever it takes to keep that infantry alive. If it takes any damage, then I lose because I can't complete the capture. That might have been a mistake. Maybe my anti-air can't finish that thing off. Yep, off by 1. A silly, avoidable mistake. I don't think anyone has those percents memorized, but I should have seen by now that I do 10% with my anti-air. Well, he is surrounded. Down goes a mini cannon. 2. And 3. In terms of mini cannons, we're gonna make it. My imperfections have not really spoiled things, and I'm gonna be able to finish them all off. I built enough of the right units and got them into good positions where they can attack multiple different cannons, so it's going to work pretty well. This one's almost up. I can finish that one off very easily. I need to bring in more firepower to take out this guy, but barring some kind of surprise on the infantry, I am going to win. I am so happy to be putting this level behind me. Now, the one other thing that could go wrong will be that he swarms out of nowhere and kills a bunch of guys and ruins my technique score, so I should build a lot of guys preemptively, just in case, even though I'm already doing okay on technique. This is one of the best and silliest ways to boost your technique score, by the way, just mass-producing infantry from every single base. Days of Ruin finally fixed the scoring system in this series and made it much smarter, so you can't game the system quite as easily that way. Final turn. We capture this thing, we get the lab map, which is the whole reason I came to this level. The Yellow Comet lab mission is a ton of fun, so I'm looking forward to doing that one next, and that will unlock Neotanks for Yellow Comet, which will then be hugely valuable. The Yellow Comet campaign in general is probably my favorite. Green Earth might be even better. It's just this one mission that's bad. Even the other Fog of War one is pretty good. And we finish off the last one. That's a wrap. I really think that this mission ranks among the worst in the entire Advance Wars series, and in fact would rank among the worst missions on any strategy game that I've ever played. Not the very, very worst, but among the worst. So many things here just make it fail to be a strategy game and become a game of pure chance and guesswork. Oh, Kanbei's flattering his daughter. She was not at all a good CO for this fight, really. Kanbei would have won easily.
Mission complete.
Their fortress looks a little bit like a lighthouse to me. Or maybe a windmill without the blades. I don't really know what they do with their fortresses. They can't, defend themselves or hold territory. They don't produce any troops or seem to garrison much of anything. Well, from here on out, good missions ahoy. I'm especially looking forward to the excellent Yellow Comet lab mission. It occurs to me, I don't think I really talked about why I'm doing Yellow Comet instead of Blue Moon. I think that it's optimal to do Yellow Comet first, because if you do, you can bring them to help Blue Moon, and they're very good at that job. Whereas Blue Moon is suboptimal for helping Yellow Comet. By the way, let me know whether you think that these longer videos should be split into multiple parts or not. I'll see you at the Black Hole Lab. Have a great day, everyone.